Willow Ortiz was halfway through her second glass of champagne when her aunt's voice cut through the crystal-clinking chatter of her cousin's engagement party. "And of course," Aunt Deborah announced, raising her glass with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, "we're all so thrilled for Madison and Tyler. Though I suppose some of us will be waiting a while longer for our own happy endings, won't we, Willow?" The room went quiet. 30 faces turned toward her, and Willow felt heat crawl up her neck. Someone snickered. Her mother looked away, embarrassed. Madison, the golden cousin, gave her a pitying smile that was somehow worse than mockery. "I'm only 25, Willow said, keeping her voice level. 26 in 2 months, her grandmother added helpfully from the corner. "Your mother was married at 22. "Different times, Gran." "Not that different," Aunt Deborah said, and the room tittered. "We're just saying, darling, you might want to lower your standards a bit. You're not getting any younger." Someone was filming. She could see the phone, half hidden behind a floral arrangement. By tomorrow morning, this would be everywhere. Her humiliation, packaged in a neat little video with a snarky caption, shared across every platform. She finished her champagne in one swallow and set the glass down harder than she meant to. "Excuse me." The bathroom was blessedly empty. Willow locked the door and leaned against it, eyes closed, breathing slowly. She wasn't going to cry. She refused to give them that. Her phone buzzed, again and again. The video was already up. Of course it was. Someone had tagged her. The comments were rolling in, mostly laughing emojis and yikes reactions. Her private humiliation, now public entertainment. She opened her own social media, fingers moving before her brain could catch up. "You know what?" she typed. "I'll marry the first king who'll have me. Applications now open." She added a laughing emoji, posted it, and turned off her phone. The next morning, her head pounded, and her mouth tasted like regret. Willow rolled over and checked her notifications with one eye open. 3,000 likes, 400 comments. Most of them were jokes or men calling themselves kings of various ridiculous domains. She was deleting the app when her doorbell rang. She wasn't expecting anyone. She stumbled to the door in her pajamas, hair a mess, and peered through the peephole. A man stood on her doorstep. No, not just a man. He was tall, dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit that probably cost more than her rent. His hair was so pale it was almost white, swept back from a face that belonged in a museum. Sharp cheekbones, pale skin that seemed to glow in the morning light, and he was looking directly at the peephole as if he could see her through it. She opened the door a crack. "Can I help you?" "I certainly hope so," he said, and his voice was like smoke and velvet. "I'm here about your posting, the one seeking a king." Willow blinked. That was a joke. Was it? He tilted his head, and something about the gesture was distinctly predatory. How disappointing. I came all this way. All what way? May I come in? There was something strange about the question, the way he waited, like he couldn't enter without permission, which was ridiculous, but Willow found herself stepping back anyway. "I guess?" He crossed the threshold, and suddenly her small apartment felt even smaller. He moved through her living room like he owned it, examining her second-hand furniture and cheap prints with the air of someone touring a museum. "Who are you?" Willow demanded. "Alaric Marcellus Octavian," he said, turning to face her. In the indoor light, his eyes were an impossible shade of silver. "Though most call me by my title, the Vampire King of the Eastern Realm." She laughed. She couldn't help it. "Okay, great. So you're insane." "I assure you I'm quite sane." He moved closer, and she should have been frightened, but there was something warm in his expression, almost amused. "And you are Willow Ortiz, 25 years old, works as a librarian, lives alone, and according to your very public declaration, seeking a king to marry. How do you know all that? Your profile is public, dear girl, and the video of your humiliation has been shared quite extensively." His expression softened. "I'm sorry for what they did to you." The kindness in his voice caught her off guard. She sat down heavily on her couch. "You're serious? You actually came here because of a joke post?" "I came because I found it charming." "And brave." He sat across from her, somehow making her threadbare armchair look like a throne. "And because, as it happens, I find myself in need of a wife." "You're a vampire." "Yes." "Prove it." He smiled then, and she saw the fangs, not huge, not monstrous, but unmistakably there, sharp and white and real. "Oh, my God." Not quite. The fangs disappeared when he stopped smiling. Though I appreciate the comparison. Now, Miss Ortiz, shall we discuss terms? Terms of what? Our marriage, naturally. Willow's head was spinning. This is insane. You're insane. I'm insane. None of this is real. I assure you it is, and I assure you my offer is genuine. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, and his eyes were impossibly focused on her. You want to silence the people who mock you? I need a human consort to fulfill a treaty obligation. We can help each other. What kind of treaty? The Treaty of Moon and Stone, signed in 1823, requires that the vampire courts maintain formal ties to the human world. A marriage is the most traditional form. He waved a hand dismissively. Ancient politics, quite boring, really, but necessary. So you want a fake marriage? I want a real marriage, legally binding, publicly acknowledged. What happens within it is up to us to determine. His voice dropped, became almost gentle. I have no intention of forcing anything you don't wish to give, Willow. But I can offer you protection, resources, and the satisfaction of watching those who mocked you realize exactly how wrong they were. What do you get out of it? Political stability, continued peace with the human world, and perhaps, he said, and there was something vulnerable in his expression, some company. Immortality can be quite lonely. She should say no. This was crazy. He was a vampire. Vampires weren't supposed to be real. But then she thought of her aunt's smug face, her mother's embarrassment, the way Madison had looked at her with pity, the video still circulating, still being laughed at. If I said yes, she said slowly, what would that actually look like? Alaric smiled, and it was radiant. Let me take you to dinner tonight, somewhere very public, and we can discuss the details. The restaurant he chose was the kind of place Willow had only ever seen in magazines. Crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, waiters who moved like dancers. She felt underdressed in her nicest dress, but Alaric looked at her like she was the most beautiful woman in the room. Tell me about yourself, he said once they'd ordered. The real things, not what's on your profile. What do you want to know? Everything. What makes you happy? What do you dream about? What do you fear? No one had ever asked her that before. Not like this, like he actually cared about the answer. I love old books, she said. The smell of them, the weight. I love libraries because they're full of quiet and possibility. I dream about traveling, seeing all the places I've only read about. And I fear, she paused, I fear being invisible, being the person people overlook and forget. You could never be invisible, Alaric said quietly. You shine, Willow. Anyone who fails to see that is blind. Warmth flooded through her. What about you? What does a vampire king dream about? Something flickered across his face. I dream of the past, mostly. People I've lost, and I fear that I've forgotten how to feel anything new. How old are you? Old enough to have seen empires rise and fall. Young enough to still remember what it feels like to be surprised. He reached across the table and took her hand. His skin was cool but not cold. You surprised me, Willow. Your post, your defiance. I haven't been surprised in a very long time. Is that why you're really here? Partly, but also because the moment I saw your face in that video, I wanted to find every person who made you feel small and show them exactly what you're worth. Her breath caught. That's the most romantic thing anyone's ever said to me. Then you've been speaking to the wrong people. They talked for hours. He told her about the vampire court hidden beneath the city in a network of chambers that had been carved out over centuries. He explained that most vampires lived secretly, blending into human society, their fortunes carefully laundered through legitimate businesses. He talked about blood laws and ancient codes, about sunlight weakness and the way time moved differently when you had centuries of it. She told him about her family, her job, the small disappointments that had piled up over the years. He listened like every word mattered. When he drove her home in a car that was worth more than her entire apartment building, she found herself not wanting the night to end. So, he said, walking her to her door, what do you think? I think you're either the best thing that's ever happened to me, or I've completely lost my mind. Perhaps both, he smiled. I should tell you, if you agree to this, there will be complications. The court can be challenging. And there are those who won't appreciate a human queen. Queen? Did I not mention that part? His eyes gleamed with amusement. If you marry me, you become queen consort, all the titles and none of the fun. That's insane. Yes, but would it silence those who mocked you? She thought of walking into the next family gathering on the arm of this impossibly beautiful, impossibly powerful man. She thought of the looks on their faces, the shock, the awe, the fear. When? She asked. When what? When would we do this, if I said yes? Alaric's smile was like sunrise. As soon as you're ready. I've already prepared the papers. We could be married by the end of the week. That's fast. I've lived for centuries, Willow. I've learned not to hesitate when I find something worth having. She should be frightened. Instead, she felt alive for the first time in years. Okay, she said. Let's do it. He kissed her hand, old-fashioned and courtly. Then I will see you tomorrow to begin preparations. Sleep well, my future queen. She didn't sleep at all. The next 3 days were a blur. Alaric arrived each morning with papers, plans, and patience. They signed documents in front of a lawyer who didn't seem at all surprised to be filing marriage paperwork for a vampire king. They discussed living arrangements she'd move into his estate, which turned out to be a mansion on the edge of the city, all Gothic architecture and modern luxury. You'll have your own wing, he assured her. Complete privacy whenever you want it. This doesn't have to be anything you're not comfortable with. But the more time she spent with him, the more comfortable she became. He was funny in a dry, unexpected way. He brought her coffee every morning, exactly how she liked it. He listened when she talked about books and asked genuine questions. He was patient with her nervousness about the vampire world, explaining everything without condescension. And he looked at her like she mattered, like she was precious. On the third day, he brought her to the mansion to meet his household staff. Most of them were human, which surprised her. We prefer it, explained Mrs. Chen, the head housekeeper, a tiny woman who moved with brisk efficiency. Vampire employers pay better, don't get involved in our personal lives, and are generally less trouble than humans. Plus, the hours work well for night people. You're not afraid? Of Lord Alaric? Mrs. Chen laughed. He's a kitten. Absolute sweetheart. You'll be happy here, dear. He needs someone like you. What do you mean? The housekeeper's expression softened. He's been alone a long time. Too long. It's good to see him smile again. That night, Willow went home and stared at her ceiling, unable to shake the feeling that she was falling into something much deeper than a convenient arrangement. The wedding was small, at City Hall, with Mrs. Chen and the lawyer as witnesses. Willow wore a simple white dress she'd found at a boutique downtown. Alaric wore black, as always, but he'd added a silver pin to his lapel that looked ancient and precious. It belonged to my mother, he said when she asked about it. She wore it at her own wedding, nearly 1,000 years ago. 1,000 years? She lived a very long time, even for a vampire. He took Willow's hands. Are you ready? Are you? More than I've been ready for anything in centuries. The ceremony was brief and formal. When the officiant pronounced them married, Alaric kissed her cheek, gentle and chaste, and whispered, "Thank you." Then they went to dinner at the same restaurant where they'd had their first conversation as potential spouses. The staff treated them like royalty, which Willow supposed they were now. She kept looking at the ring on her finger, a silver band set with a stone that seemed to hold moonlight. It's an opal, Alaric said, noticing her gaze. They're traditional for vampire weddings, something about the way they change in the light. It's beautiful. It suits you. They ate slowly, talking about nothing and everything. Willow told him about her favorite students at the library, the children who came for story time. He told her about the early days of his court, when vampires had been less careful about hiding from humans. We've learned subtlety over the centuries, he said. Survival requires adaptation. Do you miss it? The old days? Sometimes, but the modern world has its charms. He gestured to the electric lights, the soft music from hidden speakers. Central heating alone is worth the price of progress. She laughed, and his expression warmed. I like that sound, he said. Your laugh, it's genuine. Why wouldn't it be? You'd be surprised how many people forget how to laugh genuinely. It becomes performance after a while. He set down his fork. I want to tell you something, Willow, before we go much further. Her stomach tightened. What? I was married before, a very long time ago. His voice was carefully controlled. Her name was Catalina. We had 3 centuries together before she died. How? Vampire hunters. They found her during the day while I was away. His jaw tightened. I've lived 700 years since then, alone, by choice. I didn't want to try again. Willow reached across the table and took his hand. What changed? You. He met her eyes. You didn't make me want to try again. You made me realize I already was trying. From the moment I saw your post, I was hoping. I hadn't hoped for anything in a very long time. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. I just wanted you to know. This marriage might have started as a convenience, but for me it's already becoming something more. He squeezed her hand gently. No pressure, no expectations, just honesty. Willow felt something crack open in her chest. I'm falling for you, she admitted. I didn't expect to. I thought this would be fake, but you're so much more than I imagined. Good fake or bad fake? The best fake, except it doesn't feel fake anymore. No, Alaric agreed quietly. It doesn't. They went home together, to the mansion that was now her home too. He walked her to her wing and kissed her forehead at the door. Good night, wife, he said softly. Good night, husband. She was smiling when she fell asleep. The next week, Alaric announced that they needed to attend a court gala. It's traditional, he explained over breakfast. The court needs to meet you officially, to acknowledge you as queen consort. Will they like me? Some will, some won't, but all will respect you, because you're mine. He said it with such quiet certainty that Willow believed him. The gala was held in the underground chambers he'd mentioned. Willow had expected something dark and gothic, but the reality was far more beautiful. Vast halls carved from stone, lit by thousands of candles and glowing crystals that seemed to pulse with their own light. Vampires in formal wear, all pale skin and dark clothing, moving through the space like dancers. Everyone turned to look when they entered. Alaric kept her hand tucked into his arm, steady and sure. Lord Alaric, said a woman with silver hair piled high on her head, and this must be the human. This is my wife, Queen Willow, Alaric corrected, ice in his voice. You will address her with appropriate respect, Lady Seraphine. The woman's eyes narrowed, but she inclined her head. Of course. Welcome, Your Majesty. They moved through the crowd. Some vampires were warm, greeting Willow with genuine curiosity and kindness. Others were cold, their disdain barely hidden. Alaric never left her side, his presence a constant shield. Then they reached a knot of people surrounding a tall vampire with dark hair and cruel eyes. Alaric, the man said, and his voice dripped with false warmth. How domestic you've become. A human wife? How quaint. Lord Theron, Alaric said evenly, still compensating for your inadequacies with petty cruelty, I see. Theron's smile sharpened. I'm merely observing. One wonders what possible use a human could be to a king, unless it's simply convenience? A warm body to satisfy the treaty? Willow felt Alaric tense beside her, but she stepped forward before he could respond. Convenience? She said clearly. That's rich, coming from someone who's contributed nothing to this court but complaints and posturing. She looked Theron up and down. My husband chose me because I'm brave enough to walk into a room of vampires and not flinch. Can you say the same? Or do you spend all your time in the shadows, criticizing those who actually lead? The surrounding vampires went silent. Theron's face darkened. I dare quite a lot, actually, Willow interrupted, including standing up to bullies, which, vampire or not, is all you are. For a moment, she thought she'd gone too far. Then someone laughed. Another vampire joined in. Theron looked around, furious, and stormed away. Alaric pulled her close, and his eyes were blazing with pride. That, he murmured into her ear, was magnificent. Was I out of line? You were perfect. The rest of the gala was easier. Word spread quickly about the human queen who'd put Theron in his place, and vampires approached her with new respect. She met elders who'd lived for millennia, young vampires barely a century old, and everything in between. They asked her about the human world, about modern technology, about her life before Alaric. She danced with her husband in a hall lit by starlight, filtering through crystal skylights. He held her like she was made of glass and diamonds. You've impressed them, he said as they swayed to music played by a string quartet. That's not easy to do. I just told the truth. The truth, delivered at the right moment, is a powerful weapon. He spun her gently. You're going to be an extraordinary queen, Willow. I'm still not sure what that means. It means you stand beside me. You help me lead. You protect those who need protecting and stand up to those who need challenging. He drew her closer. You're already doing it naturally. I was scared the whole time. Bravery is being scared and doing it anyway. She rested her head against his chest, hearing the slow, steady beat of his heart. Yes, vampires had heartbeats. He'd explained that their bodies still functioned, just differently, sustained by blood magic instead of regular metabolism. Thank you for bringing me here, she said, for trusting me with this. Thank you for being worth trusting. They stayed until dawn was close, then left before the sunlight could become dangerous. In the car, Willow found herself fighting sleep, exhausted, but happy. Rest, Alaric said softly. You're safe. She woke up in her bed, still wearing her gown, with a blanket tucked carefully around her. There was a note on the nightstand in elegant script. You were too peaceful to wake. Sleep well. I'll see you tonight. She smiled and pulled the blanket closer, breathing in the scent of him that clung to the fabric. The next few weeks fell into a rhythm. Alaric worked during the night, managing court business and the various enterprises that kept vampire society hidden and funded. Willow kept her job at the library during the day, though she reduced her hours. They had dinner together every evening, talking and laughing, learning each other. He showed her the court library, a vast collection of books and manuscripts spanning millennia. She spent hours there, reading treaties and histories, learning about the world she'd married into. He taught her about vampire politics, the delicate balance of power between the various courts and factions. She taught him about social media and streaming services, laughing at his bemusement with modern technology. I've lived through the invention of the printing press, the telegraph, the telephone, and the internet, he said, frowning at his phone. And yet somehow, texting remains incomprehensible. You just did 3 emojis in a row. You're getting it. I meant to send one. The others were accidental. That's very on brand for you. He looked up, amused. I have a brand now? Ancient vampire king, befuddled by smartphones. It's cute. Cute. I've spent 1,000 years cultivating an image of regal terror, and you call me cute. Would you prefer adorable? He caught her around the waist and pulled her close, and her breath stuttered. They were in his study, surrounded by books and shadows, and suddenly the space between them felt charged. I would prefer, he said quietly, that you kiss me. You've never asked before. I was waiting for the right moment. Is this it? I think so, but only if you want to. She wanted to. She'd wanted to for weeks, maybe from the first moment she saw him. She rose on her toes and pressed her lips to his. He responded immediately, one hand cupping her face, the other splaying across her lower back. The kiss was gentle at first, exploratory, and then it deepened into something that made her knees weak. He tasted like wine and something darker, something wild and old and entirely vampire. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. I've been wanting to do that since the wedding, he admitted. Why didn't you? Because I needed to know it was real for you too, not just convenient. He stroked her cheek with his thumb. Is it real, Willow? So real, she whispered. I love you. I think I've loved you since you showed up at my door like a lunatic and asked to marry me. His smile was brilliant. I love you too, my brave, brilliant, beautiful wife. They kissed again, longer this time, and Willow felt like she was falling and flying at the same time. That night, she didn't sleep in her wing. She slept in his bed, wrapped in his arms, safer and happier than she'd ever been. But happiness, she was learning, was never simple. The video from her cousin's engagement party resurfaced a month after the wedding, boosted by some algorithm. It went viral again, spreading beyond her family's small circle into the wider internet. Suddenly, everyone was talking about the woman who'd been mocked for being single. Then, someone found her social media. Found the post about marrying a king, found evidence that she'd actually gotten married. And then someone found out who she'd married. Alaric Octavian wasn't just a reclusive millionaire. He was the heir to one of the oldest fortunes in the country, a man whose family name appeared in history books, a man who never appeared in daylight, whose associates all fit a certain profile. The internet started speculating. Some thought it was a publicity stunt. Others started asking questions about Alaric himself, digging into the strange gaps in public records, the way he never seemed to age in photographs spanning decades. The vampire truth was too strange for most to believe, but they were circling close to it. And then Willow's family saw the news. Her phone rang one evening while she was reading in the library. Her mother's name flashed on the screen. She hadn't spoken to her family since the wedding. Mom? Willow, her mother's voice was tight. Is it true? Did you actually marry Alaric Octavian? Yes. Why didn't you tell us? You mean the family that humiliated me on camera? I wonder why I didn't share my wedding plans. Silence. Then, your aunt wants to apologize. Does she? And your grandmother wants to meet your husband. She says she remembers the Octavian name from when she was young. She wants to know if he's related to the Octavians who owned the textile mills. He is. And no. No what? No, she can't meet him. None of you can. You lost that right when you decided I was worth mocking for public entertainment. Willow, don't be dramatic. It was just family teasing. It was cruel, and you know it. You're only calling now because you want something. Access to his money, probably, or his connections. The answer is no. He's made you cold. He's made me value myself. There's a difference. Willow stood, pacing between the stacks. I'm happy, Mom. For the first time in years, I'm genuinely happy, and you can't stand it. That's not fair. Neither was that video. Neither was standing by while Aunt Deborah tore me apart. Neither was never defending me, not once. From any of them, her voice cracked. I needed you to stand up for me, and you didn't. Alaric did. He's shown me more respect and care in 2 months than you have in 26 years. Her mother was crying now. I'm sorry. I should have protected you. Yes, you should have. Can I meet him, please? I want to know you're safe. Willow almost said no. Then she thought of Alaric, his patience and kindness. He'd want her to give them a chance, even if she didn't want to. One dinner, she said. You and Dad, no one else. And if you say one thing, one single thing, that's cruel or judgmental, you're out. Clear? Clear. Thank you, Willow. She hung up and leaned against a bookshelf, suddenly exhausted. That sounded difficult, Alaric said from the doorway. You heard? Vampire hearing. Sorry. He crossed to her, pulling her into a hug. Are you all right? I don't know. I think I just agreed to let them meet you. And you're dreading it. Completely. We could cancel. No. I need to do this. I need to show them I'm okay, that I chose well. She looked up at him. You don't mind meeting them? I'd meet 1,000 of your families if it made you happy. Just the one, please. They're exhausting. He laughed and kissed her forehead. When should we schedule this ordeal? Next week? Get it over with? Next week it is, though I should warn you I'm terrible at meeting parents. You've been alive for 1,000 years. How many parents have you met? Exactly 0. Catalina's parents died before I met her. This will be a first. Willow couldn't help but smile. So we're both nervous. Terrified, actually. What if they don't like me? Then they're idiots, but they'll like you. Everyone likes you. Theron doesn't. Theron's an idiot too. The dinner was held at the mansion because Alaric couldn't go out during daylight hours and Willow didn't want to schedule it late at night. Her parents arrived at sunset, her father looking uncomfortable in a suit, her mother wearing too much perfume. They stared at the mansion, at the staff, at the art on the walls, pieces that belonged in museums. Alaric greeted them with perfect courtesy, shaking her father's hand, kissing her mother's in an old-fashioned gesture that made her mother blush. Thank you for coming, he said, and he sounded genuine. Willow's been looking forward to this. Willow had been doing no such thing, but she appreciated the lie. Dinner was served in the smaller dining room, the one that only sat 12. Mrs. Chen had outdone herself with the food, and Alaric made conversation easily, asking her parents about their lives and work. Her father thawed first, drawn in by Alaric's questions about his contracting business. Her mother took longer, watching Alaric with suspicious eyes. "You're very pale," she said finally, blunt as always. "Genetic condition," Alaric said smoothly. "Sunlight sensitivity, it runs in the family. Must be difficult. I've adapted. One learns to appreciate the night." He glanced at Willow, warmth in his expression. "It has its compensations." "How did you two meet?" her father asked. "I saw her post on social media," Alaric said. "The one about marrying a king. I found it charming." "That was a joke," her mother said. "Perhaps, but I'm very glad she made it." He reached over and took Willow's hand. "Your daughter is extraordinary. Brave, intelligent, compassionate. I'm the fortunate one in this marriage." Her mother's expression softened slightly. "She seems happy." "I hope so. I'm certainly trying to make her happy." "He does," Willow said quietly. "Every day." The rest of the dinner was easier. Her parents asked questions, and Alaric answered them with patience. He told them about his business holdings, carefully edited to remove vampire references. He talked about his plans for the estate, his hopes for the future. When they left, her mother hugged her tightly. "He's good to you," she whispered. "I can see it. I'm sorry I didn't protect you before." "It's okay, Mom. It's not. But I'll do better. I promise." After they were gone, Willow collapsed on the couch in Alaric's study. He sat beside her, pulling her feet into his lap. "That went well," he said. "You were amazing. Dad loved you. Your mother was harder to convince. She's suspicious by nature, but she came around." Willow wiggled her toes, and he started massaging her feet absently. "Thank you for doing that. I know it wasn't fun." "It was fine. They love you. That makes them worth the effort." "Do you think they'll tell the rest of the family?" "Absolutely. And then they'll all want to meet me." He groaned. "I'm going to have to attend a family reunion, aren't I?" "Probably. Sorry. I've survived wars, plagues, and the fall of empires. I can survive your family." "That's debatable." He laughed and pulled her close. "As long as I have you, I can survive anything." But survival, it turned out, was about to get more complicated. The next court gathering was tense from the moment they arrived. Vampires stood in clusters, whispering. Lady Seraphine approached them immediately. "Lord Alaric, Your Majesty, we have a problem." "What kind of problem?" Alaric asked. "Lord Theron has been speaking to the human press. Anonymously, of course. But he's been feeding them information about our kind. Hints, suggestions, enough to make them look more closely." Alaric's expression went cold. "How do you know it's him?" "He's been bragging about it to his faction. Says that if you insist on keeping a human queen, he'll make sure the human world knows exactly what she married into." "That's a violation of every code we have," Alaric said, his voice deadly quiet. "He's risking exposure for the entire court. He says you violated code first by marrying a human, that you've made us vulnerable." Willow stepped forward. "May I speak?" Seraphine looked surprised, but nodded. "Of course, Your Majesty." "Where is Lord Theron now?" "In the Eastern Hall with his supporters." "Take me to him." Alaric caught her arm. "Willow, what are you planning?" "To solve this." She met his eyes. "Trust me." He searched her face, then nodded. "Always." They found Theron holding court in the Eastern Hall, surrounded by a dozen vampires who looked up nervously when Alaric and Willow entered. "Lord Theron," Willow said clearly, "I understand you have concerns about my presence in this court." Theron stood, smiling coldly. "Concerns? I have certainties. You're a weakness, a vulnerability, and your husband's obsession with you is going to destroy us all. Because I'm human. Because you're mortal, breakable, and utterly unsuited to this world. And yet I'm here. I'm Queen Consort, and I have the support of this court, whether you like it or not. Support born of fear of Alaric, nothing more." "Then let's test that." Willow turned to address the room. "I know some of you agree with Lord Theron. You think I'm a liability. You think my humanity makes the court weak. So let me ask you directly. What would convince you otherwise?" Silence. Then a young vampire spoke up. "Prove you understand our world, our laws, our ways." "I've been studying for months. I can recite the Treaty of Moon and Stone from memory. I can name every elder in the Eastern Realm and their lineages. I know your history, your culture, your laws. What else? Prove you can survive here, another vampire said, that you're not just playing at being queen. I stood up to Theron at the last gala. I've attended every court function without flinching. I've learned your customs and respected your traditions. I've done everything asked of me. She looked at Theron. What I won't do is apologize for being human, or for loving Alaric, or for refusing to be bullied by someone who's threatened by anything he can't control. You dare accuse me. You've been talking to the press? Willow said flatly. Risking exposure for everyone here because you can't handle the fact that I exist. Who's the real threat to this court? The human who's trying to learn and adapt, or the vampire who's willing to destroy everything out of spite? Theron's face twisted with rage. He moved toward her fast as lightning, and Alaric was there, blocking him, eyes blazing silver. Touch her, Alaric said softly, and I will end you. Court law, elder law, none of it will save you. She's a human, Theron spat. She doesn't belong here. She's my wife. She's your queen, and she's shown more courage and grace in 3 months than you've shown in 3 centuries. Alaric's voice dropped to a whisper that somehow carried through the entire hall. You will respect her. You will cease your contact with the press, and you will apologize, or you will leave this court forever. You can't banish me. Watch me, Alaric straightened. By the authority of my position and the laws of this realm, I'm giving you a choice, Theron. Accept Willow as queen consort, publicly and completely, or leave. You have until dawn. Theron looked around wildly, searching for support, but the vampires who'd been standing with him were stepping back, distancing themselves. Lady Seraphine had moved to stand beside Alaric and Willow, a clear statement. This isn't over, Theron hissed. Yes, Willow said calmly, it is. You've lost. The question is whether you lose with dignity or disgrace. He stared at her, fury and something like fear warring in his expression. Then he turned and left, his footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. The hall erupted in whispers. Seraphine inclined her head to Willow. Well done, Your Majesty. Other vampires approached, offering respect, some even apologizing for their initial coldness. The young vampire who'd challenged her earlier smiled. You're braver than I thought. For what it's worth, I'm glad you're here. Thank you. Alaric pulled her aside once the crowd dispersed. That was either very brave or very foolish. Which one do you think? Both. Definitely both. He cupped her face in his hands. You could have been hurt, if I hadn't been fast enough, but you were, and I knew you would be. She leaned into his touch. I'm tired of being afraid, tired of people thinking I don't belong. I needed to prove to them and to myself that I can do this. You proved it. You more than proved it. He kissed her softly. I've never been prouder of anyone in my entire life. Even Catalina? His expression softened with old grief. Catalina was fierce and wonderful, but she was born to this world. What you've done, adapting to something completely foreign, facing down vampires who could kill you with a thought, that takes a different kind of courage. I'm still scared sometimes. Good. Fear keeps you careful, but you don't let it stop you. That's what makes you extraordinary. They went home and made love for the first time, slow and careful and full of whispered promises. Afterward, lying in his arms, Willow felt settled in a way she never had before. I want to stay, she said quietly. Not just for a year or two, forever. Alaric went very still. What are you saying? I want to be turned. I want to become vampire. I want forever with you. Willow. I've thought about it. I know what it means, what I'd lose, what I'd gain. And I want it. She propped herself up to look at him. Unless you don't want that. Want it? I've been afraid to even hope for it. His eyes were intense. But you need to be sure. This isn't a decision you can undo. I know, and I'm sure. It's painful, the transformation. It takes 3 days, and it feels like dying because you are, in a way. Will you be there? Every second. Then I can survive it. She traced his jaw with one finger. When? Not yet. There are preparations to make, rituals to observe, and you need time to say goodbye to your human life, to your family. How long? A month, maybe 2. And Willow? He caught her hand, pressed a kiss to her palm. You can change your mind at any point. No shame, no judgment. This has to be your choice, freely made. It already is. The next weeks were strange. Willow continued her life as before, but everything felt different, touched with the knowledge of what was coming. She quit her job at the library, explaining that she was moving abroad with her husband. Her co-workers threw her a party, and she tried not to cry, knowing she'd never see them again as a human. She visited her parents one last time. They'd grown closer since the dinner, talking on the phone every few days. She didn't tell them the truth. She couldn't. But she hugged them both tightly and told them she loved them. "You're happy?" her mother asked, searching her face. "Happier than I've ever been." "Then I'm happy for you." Alaric had been preparing too. He'd consulted with the court elders, performed the old rituals, and prepared a chamber deep in the estate where the transformation could take place safely. "It has to be isolated," he explained. "The blood hunger after transformation is overwhelming. You'll need time to learn control before you're around other people." "How long?" "A few weeks, maybe a month." "Will it hurt you? The turning?" "It will take some of my blood, weaken me temporarily, but I'll recover." He pulled her close. "It's worth it. You're worth it." The night before the transformation, they had a small ceremony in the underground court. Just the inner circle, Lady Seraphine, a few trusted elders, and Mrs. Chen, who'd asked to be there. "You've been good for him," Mrs. Chen said, hugging Willow tightly. "Thank you for that. He's been good for me, too." "We'll miss your humanity," Seraphine said, surprisingly warm, "but we'll welcome your immortality. You'll make a fine vampire, Willow." The elders performed a blessing, old words in languages Willow didn't recognize. Alaric translated afterward: protection, strength, safe passage between one life and the next. Then it was time. The chamber was deep underground, carved from solid rock. A bed, a bathroom, a table stocked with blood bags for after the transformation. Alaric had thought of everything. "Last chance," he said, holding both her hands. "Are you absolutely certain?" "I've never been more certain of anything." "Then lie down and know that I love you. No matter what happens, no matter how long this takes, I love you. I love you too." She lay on the bed and he knelt beside her. "I'll bite here," he said, touching her throat gently. "My venom will enter your bloodstream. It will feel like burning at first, then like ice. Your heart will slow, then stop. You'll feel like you're drowning, but you have to hold on. You have to keep fighting through it. I will. 3 days, that's how long it takes. I'll be here the entire time. You won't be alone." "I know." He leaned down, and she felt his breath against her skin, then the sharp, bright pain of his fangs piercing her throat. He was right about the burning. It spread from the bite like wildfire, consuming everything. She gasped, trying to breathe through it, but it was everywhere, in every cell, every nerve. Then came the cold, a deep, profound cold that made the burning feel like mercy. She tried to speak, to reach for Alaric, but her body wouldn't respond. Her heartbeat was slowing. She could feel it, the gaps between beats growing longer. Terror seized her. This was dying. She was dying, but Alaric's hand was in hers, steady and strong. "I'm here," he said, and his voice was the only thing anchoring her to reality. "Stay with me, Willow. Keep fighting." The first day was agony. Every moment felt like being torn apart and put back together wrong. She screamed, or thought she did. Time lost meaning. There was only pain in Alaric's voice, constant and unwavering. "You're doing so well. Stay with me, just a little longer." The second day, the pain changed. It was still intense but different, like her body was learning a new language. She could feel things shifting inside her, bones strengthening, senses sharpening. The cold was receding, replaced by a strange, humming energy. "That's good," Alaric said. "You're adapting. The transformation is taking hold." The third day, she opened her eyes. Everything was different. The room was dark, but she could see perfectly, every detail sharp and clear. She could hear things: Mrs. Chen moving around upstairs, water running through pipes in the walls, Alaric's heartbeat, slow and strong beside her. And she was so thirsty. "Easy," Alaric said, immediately at her side. "The hunger is normal. Let me get you something." He brought her a blood bag, and she drank it without thinking, the taste strange but satisfying. The desperate thirst receded to something manageable. "How do you feel?" he asked, watching her carefully. Willow flexed her hands, marveling at the strength in them. "Different. Better. Everything's so clear. Your senses will be overwhelming at first. You'll learn to filter out the noise." He touched her face gently. "Look at me." She met his eyes and her breath caught. She could see so much more now, the silver flecks in his irises, the way his expression held equal parts hope and fear. "Am I?" "You're a vampire," he confirmed, smiling. "The transformation was successful. Welcome to immortality, my love." She kissed him, and it was different now, better. She could feel his pulse against her lips, hear the catch in his breath. Everything was more. "I want to see a mirror," she said. He brought her one, and Willow stared at her reflection. She looked like herself, but refined, sharper. Her skin was paler, her eyes brighter, and when she smiled, experimenting, she saw the fangs. "I'm beautiful," she said, surprised. "You were always beautiful." "But yes, the transformation enhances certain features." He stood behind her, hands on her shoulders. "How do you feel about it?" "Like I'm finally who I was supposed to be." They stayed in the chamber for another 2 weeks, while Willow learned to control her new abilities and hunger. Alaric was patient, teaching her to move without breaking things, to drink without draining the blood bags in seconds, to filter out the overwhelming sensory input. "It gets easier," he promised. "In a few months it will be second nature." She learned to fight, too. He taught her basic self-defense, showing her how to use her new strength and speed. She was clumsy at first, but improved quickly. "You're a natural," he said after she managed to flip him during a sparring match. "I should have known." "Known what?" "That you'd be fierce. You always were. Now you just have the physical prowess to match." When she was finally ready, they emerged from the underground chamber. Mrs. Chen gasped when she saw her. "Your Majesty, you're radiant." "Thank you." Willow hugged her carefully, still learning her new strength. "I'm so glad you're here." The court reception was that night. Willow wore a dress of deep crimson, her hair loose around her shoulders. Alaric wore his usual black, but he'd added a silver crown, ancient and beautiful. "For you," he said, producing a matching one. "It belonged to Catalina. She'd want you to have it." Willow touched the delicate metal, moved. "Are you sure?" "I'm certain. You're my queen now in every way. You should look the part." They entered the great hall together, and the assembled vampires rose as one. Lady Seraphine stepped forward, smiling. "Queen Willow," she said formally, "welcome to immortality. Welcome to your true place among us." The vampires who'd been cold before were warm now. Those who'd challenged her offered respect. Even the young vampire who'd questioned her at the gala approached with a smile. "You look well, Your Majesty. Immortality suits you." "Thank you. It feels right." They danced, talked, celebrated. Willow met vampires from other realms, some who'd traveled specifically to meet the human queen who'd chosen to turn. "It's rare," one elder explained. "Most humans who learn of our existence are turned out of necessity or coercion. Choice is precious." "I chose love," Willow said simply. "Everything else followed." Near dawn, Alaric pulled her aside. "There's one more thing. A tradition for newly turned vampires." "What kind of tradition?" "A second wedding. In the old style, under moonlight, with the court as witness. It's how we formalize the bond between vampires." He took her hands. "Will you marry me again, Willow? This time forever, in every sense of the word?" "Yes," she said immediately. "Yes, absolutely yes." The wedding was held the following week in a courtyard open to the sky, under the full moon. Willow wore white again, but this time the dress was vampire silk, shimmering like starlight. Alaric wore formal vampire regalia, layers of black and silver that made him look like a warrior king from ancient times. The court assembled in a circle around them. Lady Seraphine officiated, speaking in the old language. Alaric translated in whispers. "She's asking the moon to witness our bond, to bless our union with strength and eternity." They exchanged vows, old words and new promises. Alaric's voice was steady, but his eyes were bright. I vow to love you through all the centuries to come, to stand beside you, to protect you, to cherish you. You are my heart, my home, my forever. Willow's voice shook but held. I vow to love you with all that I am and all that I will become, to face the future at your side, to build a life with you that's worthy of the gift you've given me. You are my choice, now and always. Seraphine bound their hands with a silver cord. What the moon witnesses, let none divide. What is joined in love, let it remain eternal. I pronounce you bound, wed, and eternal. The court erupted in celebration, vampires cheering and calling blessings. Alaric kissed her deeply, and Willow felt the bond snap into place, something deeper than marriage, deeper than love. A connection that would last as long as they both existed. They danced until the sun threatened the horizon, then retreated inside. The celebration continued, but they slipped away to their chambers, suddenly needing privacy. Hello, wife, Alaric said, closing the door behind them. Hello, husband. How does it feel, being married twice to the same person? Like the first time wasn't quite real. But this is everything. She pulled him close. Thank you for giving me this, for giving me forever. Thank you for choosing it, for choosing me. He kissed her softly. I thought I'd spend eternity alone. You proved me wrong in the best possible way. What do we do now? Now? He smiled. We live. We have centuries to travel, to explore, to build something beautiful. The world is ours, Willow. All of it. Together. Always together. They made love as the sun rose, safe in their windowless chamber, wrapped in each other in the promise of forever. The next months were a joy. Willow learned to navigate her new life, attending court functions, managing the responsibilities of a vampire queen. She helped Alaric with his work, offering insights from her human experience that often surprised the older vampires. She reconnected with Mrs. Chen, who remained her closest human friend. They had tea every week, and Willow was careful to feed before each visit, not wanting to risk the blood hunger. You're happy, Mrs. Chen observed during one visit. Truly happy. I am, more than I ever thought possible. And Lord Alaric? He's happy too. I can feel it through the bond. It's strange and wonderful. You're good for each other. That's rare, even in immortality. 3 months after her transformation, Willow decided it was time to face her human family one last time, not to tell them the truth that was too dangerous, but to let them see she was well. She and Alaric arranged a dinner, carefully scheduled for sunset. Her parents arrived, and her mother gasped when she saw Willow. You look different. Good different, Willow asked, trying to sound casual. Incredible different, like you're glowing. Her mother hugged her. Marriage really does suit you. They ate together, Willow carefully pushing food around her plate while Alaric managed his own empty dish with practiced ease. Her father talked about his business and her mother shared family gossip. Aunt Deborah wanted to come, her mother said, to apologize properly, but I told her not yet, that you'd reach out when you were ready. Thank you. She feels terrible about what happened. The whole family does. Her mother reached across the table and squeezed Willow's hand. They've seen the news articles about you and Alaric. The charity work you're doing, the way you've become such a fixture in high society. They're proud and ashamed. They should be ashamed, Alaric said quietly. What they did was cruel. I know. I should have stopped it. Her mother's eyes were wet. I'm sorry, Willow, for all of it. I forgive you, Willow said, and meant it. I'm happy now. That's what matters. After they left, Alaric pulled her close. Are you all right? I think so. It's strange. Seeing them now, knowing they're aging and I'm not, knowing I'll outlive them by centuries. That's the hardest part of immortality, watching mortals pass. How do you bear it? By treasuring the time I have with them, by remembering that every moment is precious because it's finite. He kissed her forehead. And by holding tight to the ones who choose to stay. I'll always stay. I know. That's why I'm the luckiest vampire alive. A year passed. Then 2. Willow grew into her role as queen consort, confident and capable. She proposed new initiatives, helped modernize some of the court's outdated practices, and earned the respect of even the oldest vampires. Theron never returned. Rumor said he'd joined a court in Europe, still bitter but no longer their problem. Willow didn't miss him. She traveled with Alaric, seeing the world as she'd always dreamed. They visited ancient vampire strongholds in Romania, explored the hidden courts beneath Paris, walked the night markets of Tokyo. Everywhere they went, vampires treated her with respect, fascinated by the human who'd chosen to become one of them. "You're famous," Alaric teased, after a particularly enthusiastic welcome in Madrid. "The human queen who chose immortality for love. They're already writing songs about you." "That's embarrassing." "That's romantic. Vampires appreciate a good love story." "Do you appreciate it?" "Every single day." He pulled her into a dance in their hotel room, the city spread out below them in glittering lights. "I love you, Willow, more with every passing year. Even though I still can't figure out how to text properly, especially because of that." 5 years after her transformation, Lady Seraphine asked Willow to help mediate a dispute between two minor vampire houses. It was delicate work, requiring diplomacy and patience. Willow spent weeks talking to both sides, finding common ground, building bridges. When she finally brokered a peace agreement, the court celebrated her as a true leader. Alaric presented her with a new title, Peacekeeper of the Eastern Realm. "It's not just honorary," he explained. "It comes with real authority. You can negotiate on behalf of the court, make binding agreements, represent us to other realms." "That's huge. You've earned it. You've proven yourself 100 times over." He smiled. "I'm so proud of you. I couldn't have done any of this without you." "Yes, you could, but I'm grateful I got to be part of it." 10 years after their first meeting, they held an anniversary celebration. The court threw an elaborate party, but afterward, Alaric took Willow to the roof of their mansion where they could see the stars. 10 years, he said, pulling her close. "In vampire terms, that's barely a beginning. How does it feel?" "Like I've been happy for 10 years. That's more than some vampires get in a millennium." "Are you saying I make you happy?" "I'm saying you make me feel alive, which is ironic considering." He turned her to face him. "I want to show you something. A gift." "What kind of gift?" He led her down to his study and pulled out a leather-bound book. "I've been writing. About us, our story. I wanted to capture it before the details faded." Willow opened the book and saw his elegant handwriting covering the pages, the story of a vampire king and a human woman, a marriage of convenience that became love, a transformation freely chosen. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "It's us, every moment I treasure." He touched her face gently. "Thank you for giving me a story worth writing. Thank you for being worth falling for." They stood in the study, surrounded by centuries of history, and kissed like newlyweds. Because in a way they were. Every day with him felt new, felt chosen. 20 years after her transformation, Willow stood on the balcony of the court's grand hall, looking out over the assembled vampires. She'd helped build this community, strengthen it, modernize it. She'd made it a place where even young vampires felt welcome, where innovation was encouraged alongside tradition. Alaric came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "Thinking deep thoughts? Thinking about how different my life could have been. If I'd listened to my family, if I'd settled for someone who didn't see me, if I'd never made that ridiculous post. Are you glad you made it?" "Every single day." "So am I." He kissed her neck, right over the faded scar where he'd bitten her all those years ago. "You've given me more than I ever dreamed of having again. Purpose, joy, a future I actually want to live. You've given me the same. Plus immortality, which is a pretty good deal." He laughed. "I suppose it is." They stood together, watching the vampires below. Some were centuries old, some newly turned. All of them were part of the community Willow and Alaric had built together, a place of safety, strength, and surprising warmth. "What do you want to do next?" Alaric asked. "We have eternity. Where shall we go? What shall we build?" "I was thinking we could establish more connections with the human world. Carefully, of course, but there's so much good we could do. Quietly funding research, supporting causes, helping people. Using our resources to make a real difference." "Exactly. I love it, and I love you." He turned her to face him. "Here's to the next century, my queen, and all the ones after that. Here's to forever, Willow agreed, and kissed him as the stars wheeled overhead, eternal and bright. She'd been mocked for having no husband, so she'd married the vampire king. And in doing so, she hadn't just silenced them. She'd found her home, her purpose, and a love that would last longer than memory itself. The story of the librarian who became a queen was already legend in vampire circles. But for Willow and Alaric, it was just the beginning. Every night was an adventure. Every year brought new challenges and joys. Every decade deepened their bond. They faced threats together, rogue vampires, territorial disputes, the occasional hunter who got too close. They celebrated victories, successful negotiations, young vampires coming into their own, the slow, steady work of building a better world for both humans and vampires. Through it all, they had each other. In quiet moments and grand gestures, in the everyday rhythms of immortal life, and the special occasions that marked the passage of time. 50 years after their wedding, Willow woke to find Alaric watching her, propped on one elbow. "What?" she asked, smiling. "Just remembering the first time I saw you. In that video, being mocked, looking so brave and so hurt at the same time." He brushed hair from her face. "I thought you were beautiful. I had no idea you'd become everything." "Everything? My best friend, my partner, my reason for existing." His voice went soft. "My favorite person in all the world, living or dead. That's a lot of pressure. I'm just me. Just you is more than enough, more than I deserve." "You deserve everything good," Willow said fiercely. "Don't ever doubt that." They made love slowly, taking their time, secure in the knowledge that they had endless mornings ahead. Afterward, they lay tangled together, comfortable and warm despite their vampire coolness. "Do you miss it?" Alaric asked quietly. "Being human?" "Sometimes. I miss the simplicity, the way time moved faster. But I don't miss who I was afraid, uncertain, feeling like I didn't fit anywhere." She propped herself up to look at him. "Now I fit. With you. With the court. In this life we've built. That's worth more than anything I lost." "Good. Because I'm never letting you go. Possessive vampire. Always, but only with you." They spent the day planning their next project, a scholarship fund for human students interested in history and anthropology, secretly funded by vampire gold. It would be their way of giving back, of supporting human knowledge while protecting vampire secrets. "We're good at this," Willow said as they reviewed the paperwork, "building things, making a difference. We're good at everything together." That night, they hosted a gathering for the younger vampires in the court. Willow had started the tradition years ago, wanting to create space for those who were still learning their place in vampire society. They met monthly, talking about challenges and triumphs, supporting each other. A vampire named Lucia, turned only 3 years ago, approached Willow nervously. "Your Majesty, can I ask you something?" "Of course. Do you ever regret it, choosing this life?" "Never, not once." Willow smiled at her. "It's not always easy, but it's mine. I chose it, knowing exactly what I was getting. That makes all the difference." "I was turned without choice," Lucia said quietly, "by a vampire who didn't care about consent. The court punished him, but I'm still here, dealing with this life I never wanted. I'm so sorry that happened to you. No one should be turned without consent." Willow took her hand. "But I promise you, it can still become a good life. You're more than what was done to you. You can build something beautiful from this, if you choose to." "How?" "By finding your purpose, by building connections, by refusing to let what happened define you." Willow gestured to the gathered vampires. "You have a whole community here, people who understand. Let us help." Lucia's eyes filled with blood tears. "Thank you, Your Majesty. Call me Willow, and come talk to me any time. I mean it." Later, Alaric pulled her aside. "That was kind, what you said to Lucia. She needed to hear it. Being turned without consent is trauma. She needs support, not platitudes. You're building something important here. This community, this support system, it's changing the court for the better. We're building it, together." "Together," he agreed, and kissed her softly. 100 years after her transformation, the court held a centennial celebration. Willow stood at Alaric's side, accepting congratulations from vampires who'd become genuine friends over the decades. She was fully vampire now, no lingering traces of humanity except her compassion and warmth. Lady Seraphine, who'd become one of Willow's closest advisors, raised a glass to Queen Willow, who proved that humanity is not a weakness but a strength, who brought change and compassion to a court that desperately needed both, and who loves our king with a devotion that reminds us all what true partnership looks like. The assembled vampires cheered, and Willow felt tears prick her eyes. These were her people. This was her home. Alaric leaned close. "You're crying. Happy tears. I'm just overwhelmed by how much my life has changed. For the better, I hope." "Immeasurably for the better." She turned to face him fully. "I was lost before you, trying to fit into a world that didn't want me. Now I've found where I belong. You belong with me. Always." "Always," she agreed. They danced, celebrated, laughed with friends who'd stood by them through a century of change. And when the party finally ended, they retreated to their chambers, exhausted but content. 100 years, Alaric mused, pulling her close, and I love you more now than the day we met. That's impossible. You barely knew me then. I knew enough. I knew you were brave and fierce and worth knowing. The rest has just been confirmation. Smooth talker. I've had 1,000 years to practice. He kissed her deeply. Here's to the next 100, my love, and all the centuries after that. Here's to forever, Willow whispered against his lips. And it was forever. Not in the abstract, impossible way humans dreamed of, but in the concrete, lived reality of immortal love. Every night, a choice to be together. Every year, a recommitment to their partnership. Every century, a testament to what they'd built. They faced challenges, political upheavals, threats from other vampire realms, the slow, steady encroachment of human technology that made secrecy harder to maintain. But they faced them together, adapting and growing with each new obstacle. They celebrated joys, young vampires finding their place, successful peacemaking between rival factions, quiet moments stolen between responsibilities. They traveled the world, built hospitals and schools, supported human causes through anonymous donations. And through it all, they loved each other with a constancy that became legendary even among vampires who knew something about enduring love. 2 centuries after their meeting, Willow stood in the court library surrounded by books she'd helped acquire. Alaric found her there, reading by candlelight, even though her vampire vision didn't need it. There you are. I've been looking everywhere. Sorry, I got distracted. She held up the book. First edition of Frankenstein. I found it at an estate sale last week. Appropriate, given our circumstances. The monster finding community and love? Very appropriate. She set the book aside carefully. What did you need? Nothing. I just wanted to see you. He sat beside her, and they existed in comfortable silence for a moment. Do you ever think about what your life would have been like if we'd never met? Sometimes, but it's hard to imagine now. You're so much a part of me. The bond? The bond, and everything else. You're my best friend, Alaric. My partner in every sense. I can't remember who I was without you. You were extraordinary even then. I just helped you see it. We helped each other see it. He pulled her close, and she rested her head on his shoulder. They sat like that for hours, content in each other's presence, while the court moved around them and the world turned above. This was the life she'd chosen. Not perfect, not easy, but completely and utterly hers. She'd been mocked for having no husband, and in response, she'd found something infinitely better than a simple marriage. She'd found a partnership that would last forever, a love that transcended time itself, and a purpose that filled her immortal life with meaning. The mockers were long gone, silenced by time and irrelevance. But Willow remained, strong and happy and whole, exactly where she belonged, and every night when Alaric pulled her close and whispered that he loved her, she knew she'd made the right choice. Not just when she posted that foolish joke, and not just when she agreed to marry him, but every day since, every moment she chose to stay, to fight, to build this life at his side. That was the real victory. Not silencing the people who'd hurt her, though she'd certainly done that, but finding herself in the process, becoming someone worth loving, worth respecting, worth listening to. She'd been mocked for having no husband, so she married the Vampire King. And in doing so, she'd found everything she never knew she needed. The story ended there, in the library, with two vampires who'd loved each other for centuries and would love each other for countless more. With a court that thrived under their joint leadership, with a world that was slowly, secretly becoming better because of their efforts. Happy ending? Absolutely. Not because everything was perfect, but because they'd built something real and lasting out of chaos and chance, because they'd chosen each other every day for 200 years and would keep choosing each other for 2,000 more. That was the true magic. Not the vampirism, not the immortality, not even the romance, though all those things mattered, but the choice. The daily, constant, unwavering choice to love and be loved, to build and protect, to face the infinite future together. Willow had been mocked for having no husband, so she married the Vampire King and silenced them all. But more importantly, she'd found herself, found her home, and found a love that would literally last forever. And that was the greatest victory of all.